Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Today is Thursday, October 29, 2020. CNN report. Glenn Greenwald is quitting The Intercept, claiming editors censored his article about Joe Biden. Glenn Greenwald is resigning from The Intercept, the news site he co-founded in 2013, not long after his most prominent work, the publication of articles based on leaks from former National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden. In a lengthy letter of resignation published Thursday, Greenwald alleged his editors censored an article he wrote this week about former Vice President Joe Biden. He claimed that the editors were refusing to publish it unless I remove all sections critical of Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden, the candidate vehemently supported by all New York-based Intercept editors involved in this effort at suppression.
CNN report. Get ready for a flood of Trump pardons. Mark Osler is the Robert and Marion Short Distinguished Professor of Law at the University of St. Thomas, MN, and a former federal prosecutor. The opinions expressed here are his own. Read more opinion at CNN. Because I'm someone who studies and advocates in the field of clemency, I'll get a lot of calls if that happens. Mostly, people will ask, can he do that? My response will be, he just did. Clemency, as structured by the Constitution, has no check or balance other than politics.
Fox report. Jerry Falwell Jr. sues Liberty University for defamation after sex scandal forced his exit. Former Liberty University president Jerry Falwell Jr. filed a defamation lawsuit in Virginia on Wednesday, arguing the private evangelical Christian college tarnished his reputation in a series of public statements following his resignation over several sex scandals. The lawsuit filed in Lynchburg Circuit Court on Wednesday includes claims of defamation and breach of contract against the university his late father helped build.
Al Jazeera report. Job cut nation. ExxonMobil to lay off 1,900 U.S. employees. ExxonMobil Corp said on Thursday it will lay off about 1,900 employees in the United States as the COVID-19 pandemic batters energy demand and prices. Exxon was once the largest U.S. publicly traded company but has been cutting costs due to a collapse in oil demand and ill-timed bets on new oil fields and expansions. It has promised to shed more than $10 billion this year in project spending and cut operating expenses by 15%.
Deutsche Welle report. Argentina. Police and protesters clash over contested land. Police clashed with protesters in Argentina on Thursday while evicting them from their makeshift homes on a contested property south of Buenos Aires, according to authorities. Most of those being evicted were compliant with instructions from the security forces. However, there were a handful of incidents recorded where some residents responded by throwing stones. 6 police officers sustained injuries and at least 30 people were arrested.
Al Jazeera report. U.S. allows Jerusalem-born to put Israel as passport birthplace. The United States will allow U.S. citizens born in Jerusalem to list Israel as their place of birth on passports and other documents, according to a new policy announced on Thursday. The move came a day after the U.S. amended science accord signed with Israel to apply to institutions in the occupied West Bank. The changes, enacted days before the U.S. election, appeared to be aimed at shoring up the support of evangelical Christians and other Israel backers.
CNN report. Donald Trump has run a historically bad re-election campaign. Eric Weirson, who writes frequently for CNN Opinion, is a 6-time Emmy Award-winning television producer and former senior media advisor to New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg. He advises corporate and political clients on communications strategies in the U.S., Africa and Latin America. Follow him on Twitter at Eric Weirson. Bradley Honan, CEO of Honan Strategy Group, a Democratic polling and analytics firm, has advised the campaigns of Bill and Hillary Clinton, Michael Bloomberg, Tony Blair and others.
Fox report. U.S. moves forward with seizure of Iranian missiles, petroleum bound for Yemen, Venezuela. The Justice Department announced court filings Thursday in a formal bid to force the forfeiture of multiple shipments of Iranian missiles bound for Yemen and for the sale of oil bound for Venezuela that the U.S. Navy has confiscated. The Navy took control of the contraband in international waters, the DOJ said Thursday. The 2 forfeiture complaints allege sophisticated schemes by the IRGC, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, to secretly ship weapons to Yemen and fuel to Venezuela, countries that pose grave threats to the security and stability of their respective regions. Assistant U.
Al Jazeera report. Digital redlining suit accuses Redfin of racial discrimination. Several fair housing organizations accused Redfin of systematic racial discrimination in a lawsuit on Thursday, saying the online real estate broker offers fewer services to homebuyers and sellers in minority communities, a type of digital redlining that has depressed home values and exacerbated historic injustice in the housing market. In a complaint filed in U.S. District Court in Seattle, the organizations said that during a 2-year investigation they documented the effect of Redfin's minimum price policy, which requires homes to be listed for certain prices to reap the benefits of Redfin services.
Deutsche Welle report. Senegal. At least 140 migrants die after boat sinks. More than 140 people died last week when a vessel with roughly 200 migrants on board sank off the coast of Senegal, the International Office for Migration (IOM) said in a statement Thursday. It represents the deadliest shipwreck recorded this year. The IOM said it is deeply saddened by this tragedy, which follows 4 shipwrecks recorded in the central Mediterranean last week, in a tweet along with an official statement.
Fox report. Kentucky State Police investigating recent fatal officer-involved shooting during altercation. An officer with a sheriff department in Kentucky shot a man dead during an altercation that broke out during a call for service Wednesday afternoon. An autopsy was scheduled for Thursday morning, and authorities have yet to identify the race or ethnicity of either the officer involved or the man killed. The Kentucky State Police launched an investigation Wednesday after an officer with the Trigg County Sheriff's Office responded to a residence on Forest Circle near Cadiz around 1:45 p.m.
BBC report. Borat fundraiser for film's Black Grandmother raises $110,000. Janice Jones, 62, was recruited for the film that sees Kazakh journalist Borat playing pranks on U.S. citizens. She features in several scenes after being asked to babysit the fictional daughter of Cohen's infamous character. Following the film's release last week, her church pastor set up a crowdfunding page for fans to say thank you. Pastor Derek Scobie said Ms. Jones, who was hired from the congregation of Ebenezer Baptist Church in Oklahoma City, had recently lost her job of 32 years due to the coronavirus pandemic.
CNN report. Why Grey's Anatomy almost didn't address the pandemic. Roughly 15 minutes into her first meeting with the Grey's Anatomy writers about the new season, showrunner Krista Vernoff said she knew there was no turning their back on COVID-19. Speaking during Variety's Power of Women virtual event, Vernoff said she had seriously considered opting out of pandemic storylines to preserve the sense of escapism many enjoy about the beloved primetime medical drama.
BBC report. Tanzania elections. Opposition leader Tundu Lissu won't accept poll results. Whatever happened yesterday was not an election, Tundu Lissu told journalists in the main city Dar es Salaam. Responding to earlier criticisms, the Electoral Commission said on Wednesday that the accusations were unfounded. Mr. Lissu was one of 14 candidates challenging President John Magufuli, whose party has governed for decades. Admired by some for his no-nonsense approach, Mr. Magufuli's first term was marred by allegations from rights groups that he was restricting democratic freedoms.
Fox report. California firefighters deliver baby after responding to 911 call. A family in California is thanking a group of firefighters who responded to a 911 call in a matter of minutes and helped deliver their baby boy. Donnie Hogan Jr. and his wife Patrice were at a relative's home in El Sobrante last Tuesday when she realized her baby was coming before its due date. The pain was just getting stronger and stronger. By the time they came, the contractions were 2 minutes apart, Patrice Hogan told KTVU.
Deutsche Welle report. Ukraine president slams unacceptable corruption ruling. A devastating blow to Ukraine's anti-corruption effort prompted President Volodymyr Zelensky to call a national security meeting, his aides said on Thursday. The move comes in response to the country's constitutional court striking down a string of anti-corruption laws. Zelensky is also due to urgently present draft laws to parliament that could be used to avert similar crisis situations, according to his office.
BBC report. Typhoon Molave. Landslides kill at least 19 after heavy rain in Vietnam. Typhoon Molave slammed into the coast near Da Nang City on Wednesday, bringing heavy rain and strong winds. The typhoon has affected more than 1 million people in central Vietnam, leaving destruction in its wake. around 375,000 people were evacuated to safety before Molave struck with winds reaching 85 miles per hour, 145 kilometers per hour. But as the typhoon moved west towards Thailand and Myanmar on Thursday, rescuers were scrambling to find survivors after several landslides in rural Vietnamese villages.
Thank you for watching 5 p.m. recap. To be notified, you can subscribe our channel and activate the bell.